enabled, and I liked it.
Yeah, no, I think it's it's been. Of course, they start talking. I think a lot has changed since most people have met the team, and it's been some time since we've had the whole team on Discord. Actually, a long time, and so I think it's a sort of nice reintroduction to people who have already met us, and then for people who haven't met, I think it's a nice introduction.
I think I was actually just talking to myself there, which is personally my favourite with the mute button on. I think also it's not just about meeting the team, but also there's been so much going on. I mean, even in this last week, it's just trying to keep up is challenging. And I think that there still continues to be literally a torrent of updates coming in thick and fast. And I think a lot of people are excited to hear, from somebody who's actually there, feet on the ground, and actually getting some perspective from that side of things, rather than just, you and I and Maxi kind of beating the drum, so to speak. But it seems the gentleman has had some audio issues. But yeah, it looks like Heli's not going to be joining us this evening. He's actually got to be up in 5 hours. So we shall forgive him on this occasion. But welcome to the stage, Maxi. Maxi has moved to a new part of the world, so he's actually a lot more awake for these AMAs now. Good evening, buddy. How you doing?
Yeah. Having dinner. No sushi here, but hey.
You're having dinner. It sounds like you're cowering in the toilet through, trying your hardest not to get told off by the wife.
No. I'm actually baffled. I have an office, a big screen, and everything.
You're sure you're?
There we go.
Like a proper setup.
It sounds like you're in the bath. That's the ultimate of chill for this AMA.
It is the same mic. It is the same mic. So
can you please put some expenses in?
Can y'all hear me now?
We can.
All right. Sorry. Audio issues. My apologies.
It is all good, my friend. It is all good. So, this evening is a little bit different from our usual AMAs. We normally have quite, a fixed agenda, and we normally have way too many things on the list to talk about, and not enough time to do it. And I think our last AMA was meant to be an hour, and I think we were still going after 2.5, which has its challenges, but there was an awful lot to say. So with this particular AMA, it's not actually been that long since we did our last one. We were having our team meeting a couple of weeks ago, and Joe was just like, I think it's time that we really gave the community visibility of what the hell actually goes on, at the coalface, actually in the facility. And this evening, it said we have a new guest on stage. He has been appearing in and out of this Discord for as long as I've been in there. I don't think I've actually ever spoken to you in a Discord conversation, but certainly a lot of conversations outside of it. So I guess without further ado, the gentleman, why don't you take a moment to, first of all, introduce yourself, how you got into crypto, how you got involved in the operation, and then a little bit about what you do on a day-to-day basis. I think that would probably be a good start. And I think between Commander, myself, and Maxi, I think we'll start peppering you with questions. But please, guys, this is an interactive session. We have the chat. I'm going to be keeping an eye on it. So if you do have questions for the gentleman, please drop them in the chat. I'll ask them. My friend.
There you go. Hello, everybody. I'm the gentleman. You may have seen me popping around Discord for a little while. For a long while, since the whole Discord was actually created. So how I got into crypto, I mean, I've been involved with Bitcoin since the very beginning. back when you could go to a Bitcoin faucet and get 0.01 Bitcoin for free. Those were the days. Yeah, I mean, I'm here on the ground at the Enigma facility, and every single day I'm working directly with the miners, making sure that they're still running smoothly and rectifying issues, installing new miners. We've got a list of tasks here that we do every single day. Keep the facility clean, keep all the miners running well. And yeah, I'm open to any questions that anybody might have as to the day-to-day insights. I'd be happy to answer those.
Sweet. I noticed Dead Drop has joined this evening as well. What a rare pleasure that is.
Wow.
So, yeah, I'm wondering if the mic's working or he's going to be on permanent mute.
What's up, guys? No, the mic is working. Glad to be here.
Excellent. Well, listen, I'm going to fire the question straight back at you. I mean, the Discord knows myself, Commander and Maxi incredibly well. They've probably seen you floating around, the occasional chit chat in Discord, but I guess, yeah, tell everybody who you are, what you do, your involvement in crypto, and what you do as part of your role here at Enigma and Altery.
You're speaking to Dead Drop, correct?
Dead Drop, please.
yeah.
Yeah, he's
Give him a
Steven.
nudge.
To be fair, he's in the middle of doing things, I believe. So he's either not responding because of technical difficulties or because he was not expecting to introduce himself at this very moment.
The AMA was
Steven,
called
do you hear it?
Meet the Team, and he's on stage.
Okay, sorry. Yeah, I caught up with some few things, but yes, glad to be here. See, we have like an audience of 30. Nice. Some familiar names that I recognize. But yeah, I'm not too actively present in Discord, so for any newcomers, you might not know who I am, but I'm the other founder, Joe's better half. Just kidding. I'm more ugly than Joe. He's the better half. But we, yeah, Alteri is the company, and I'm just along for the ride. So, been here since the beginning, but the operations side pulls me to that area, so not actively present in Discord too often. But I'm glad I could actually join this one and get to meet any new faces. But I'm looking. I'm looking in the audience and I see some OG miners with the pickaxe torching. Nice PFP. I like that a lot, dude. That's a throwback. Yeah.
So as
I run on the operational side of Alteri, so that takes us to the different locations we're deploying at, and kind of working at those locations versus kind of the virtual side of things. That's why I'm not too often present, I guess, in these channels. But it's fun and kind of nostalgic to be back. So yeah, JT, I'm sorry, I missed some of the questions you asked me. What were you looking for?
You pretty much covered it, bro. It was more or less the lines of who you are, what you do here, and how you got into this godforsaken industry.
Oh, nice.
yeah, I like JT's rhetoric today. This is as is the case generally with entrepreneurs. They tend to be very when it comes to describing their role. So I'm going to augment his answer a little bit to give some more insight into what he's actually doing, the nuances of what he does. So the reason I can even afford the time to speak to people in Discord, to investors, if we had to really deconstruct the sort of the different communication interfaces, we have an investment group that invests directly into Alteri, and then we have investors that take money from clients to put them into miners, and those investors, they interface with their own clients. We don't interface with their clients. And then we have our own clients, and our clients, you can sort of also look at that as one super category, and now you can be a little bit more granular. And we have Web3 clients and then non-Web3 clients, and then that can further be separated into Web3 NFT, Web3 non-NFT, and then some permutation of basically all of these. So while I do all these talking and managing relationships along with JT, this time is afforded to us because we have someone like Steven, essentially, who is pulling the different strings at different times, operationally speaking, in order to allow the operation to be streamlined, flow in the correct direction. Of course, nothing flows linearly, so it'll fluctuate up and down constantly in flux. But this flux is within limits that allow it to be a viable operation. Those limits are set by Steven. So he does operational things. He also does financial things. David on here, I'll let him introduce himself. But David originally had joined with one role, and as with any startup, it sort of starts to mutate into more evolved roles and a more dynamic role. And so all of these things really have to be sort of plugged into the right place. So that's what Steven does. And yeah, it's you can't really put a price on that. It's a lot of work. But yeah, it's great to have him here, but we also don't want him to have too much fun here, because if he's here and I'm here, that's a problem.
So I saw a question in the chat that was asking what myself and Dead Drop's first names were. So my name is Nick, just so you know, if you want to put that with your team collection.
Well, there you go. I think we can add that in. I think so. Everybody, if anyone has read any of the FAQs, you know that we're all fully doxed. Well, all bar one. But Dead Drop is Stephen, yeah, and he's down as the co-founder. There is a lovely picture of Stephen if you go and have a look on the EMF FAQ. So I'll go and drop you a link to that very, very shortly. So Nick, that means we can add you onto the list now, my friend. You are kind of half doxed. So, but welcome. So Nick, I'm going to start with you because obviously we need Stephen, turning the gears. So Joe can continue to have his fun here. But Nick, so obviously you were involved at the very, very early stages of what became Enigma Economy. So what was your first real job within the community? What was your first real role and your first real challenge, I guess, here? Because it's not been a smooth ride, has it?
Well, it's been quite an interesting ride. In the very beginning, we had 10,000 people flood into the Discord in a matter of a day or two, and I was charged with managing the community, making sure that all the channels were created so that we could, channel all that discussion into proper channels. I know I said the word channel there a lot, but I've been involved in a number of ways in this community. So at one point I was the community manager, but I've always been the technical guy. So when it comes to, new computerized systems that we need to introduce, or, boots on the ground with the actual technicals in terms of, repairing, troubleshooting, things like that, that has always been my strong suit. So I've really found my role here in that allows me to best channel my individual abilities, which is, working with computers. I speak computer pretty fluently, so, I feel like this is the right role for me. I have been in and out of the Discord in numerous ways. But I've been involved with it since literally the server's first creation.
Wow, that's impressive, and it must have felt quite good seeing all of that traffic suddenly appear from nowhere. I think a few of us from Discords like that. But I guess our white paper was written, a mint happened, and we find ourselves in a precarious position as to, well, we've got this money. What do we do now? And I know part of that original white paper was like, let's go and buy some GPU miners. Talk us through the process of kind of what happened next in terms of, a site was chosen. How did that come
Sure.
about? What happened next?
So we first, Stephen and I did drop, and myself actually went out to Indiana to check out the first facility. We checked to make sure that they had the right cooling, that they had enough space for us for scaling purposes, and the warehouse was actually quite large. Definitely had enough room for us to scale, and they had a pretty good air ducting organization system so that we could properly cool our miners. Seemed like a really good fit. Unfortunately, the person who was running the facility would regularly have issues, and he was a little bit difficult to work with. So we had to start examining other options. But at the beginning, it seemed really nice to have our first facility. To be able to get some of these GPUs actively mining towards our community pool, that was a big milestone for us, and it was just the first step of getting us to where we are today with our own facility, our own transformers, our own containers, and it's necessary to have gone through that learning process. But we've learned quite a bit since then. We've even learned quite a bit since we started this facility here, in terms of the logistics of getting these miners installed, keeping them cool, being able to properly label them and compartmentalize them for effective troubleshooting. It just keeps getting better. We actually went through a major operation over the last couple of days to really improve the organization that we had, and it's gone swimmingly. So we're really excited about moving forward from here, and just the constant improvements to our organization system and our labeling system and our understanding of the tools that we regularly use here, that's improving as well. We've got fully automated curtailment now, which is really fantastic. That was something that was, requiring somebody to be up here at 6:30 in the morning or 5:30 in the morning, to manually shut these off. So, that automatic curtailment that we've got now is a lifesaver. And we're constantly looking for ways just like that where we can improve. Let's see, looking at the chat here, any questions? I don't think that one's for me.
I'm keeping an eye on it. Don't worry.
Okay.
It's all right. I'll just keep firing the questions at you. That's my job.
So when Nick mentions that the first facility we worked with in Indiana was quote difficult to work with, that's really a euphemism for he blew up a fucking transformer. So definitely an understatement, but essentially the takeaway were spot on by Nick. It's you're going through the learning curve and you're learning what to do, what not to do, and how to do it better. And Nick has been instrumental. A fun fact about Nick is actually he loves writing Discord APIs and bots, which all of you are familiar with the NFT bull cycle, but I would say probably the highest utility talent during a bull cycle is someone who can actually script bots in Discord.
Nice. So we know who to thank or to blame. Love that.
Well, right now we've got a kind of crude implementation of a bot here. If anybody wants to do a exclamation point mine in here in the chat, you should see the fruits of my labor. But since then, I have it's
mine.
Minin, 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 I think it is. If you could do an exclamation point GIFs. Oh man. Okay. Well,
I think everyone.
I don't think it works. I don't
you don't think it works in this chat?
Mate, you
Yeah,
don't
yeah.
never
Oh,
do
okay.
never do live demonstrations or anything involving animals on a live
No,
stream,
it's that. This
The
is that,
equivalent of
man. The
breaking
book
the
is that
Tesla
again.
window.
man. Okay.
Here's my Python, guys. This is my.
All right, let's
You're
let's
right.
get back
Yeah.
That's how you
let's
kill
get
yourself. Okay.
let's get back to the story. So, we're in Indiana. Things didn't quite work out. We kind of know the
Wait, wait, wait,
story.
wait.
Oh,
Can I interject something?
what?
Because I think sometimes the back end of the processes and the systems that need to be implemented to do these things is missed. And
No,
as
we
we're
haven't missed
painting
it.
this,
We've not got back to that part of the story yet, bud.
well, no. We're past already Nick's trip up there. I want to add some value to what Nick did,
You go
because
for it.
there's this baseline equation: A plus B equals C. A, Joe, community. It's integral to this whole operation, and it's awesome to see everybody here. And we can touch on that sentiment later, because I don't get to voice it as much as I'd like to. B is really that learning curve when you're starting a new operation and trying to understand things and operate. Nick was that guy. When we went up to Indianapolis, or not Indianapolis, Chicago actually, and drove over, we dropped off the GPUs. There was a lot of them. We drove back to Chicago, and for the next 15 hours in a hotel room, Nick was responsible for getting these things online for the community. And for those of you that aren't too familiar with specifically GPU mining, it is actually more nuanced and frustrating than even ASICs mining. And outside of just even choosing the right mining pool, which you're taking into factors like pool fees and payout structures and the minimum payout, you're looking at installing the GPU drivers. So you're updating and installing the latest drivers and flashing them. You're downloading the software. You're configuring the mining software. So that involves like editing the miner software's configuration file, getting all the pool addresses up to date, getting the pool performance ready with the monitoring software. So you're using basically mining software with the pool dashboard to monitor the whole performance, which you're setting specifically per GPU to optimize. And all of those things takes tremendous time and understanding. And without that, we wouldn't even had budget or runway to proceed with the phases of Alteri that have existed from then. So I just wanted to kind of pause on that. When Nick says he was a part of that initial stepping stone, it was monumental. And so we really appreciate Nick now, even today, what he's doing in troubleshooting things with the new systems and hardware. But then especially, it gave us the opportunity to even play ball. So Nick, thank you very much, sir.
You're very welcome.
This is the point where we need some sounds. We definitely need some flowers and a round of applause, I think. So yes, point very, very well made. A lot of learnings in those very, very early days. Flowers make sounds. No, it's the term you give somebody flowers, right? Enigma Magician is like splitting hairs here. So we've got some questions. We do have some questions, but they're probably slightly more relevant to the current operation than where we were historically. So obviously the script got flipped on us. The first operation didn't kind of work as we wanted, and fast forward the clock to the suggestion around North Carolina comes around. Kind of at that point, like what reservations did you have, given the fact that we'd obviously just stepped away from what wasn't exactly our finest hour? How did you feel about that operation when it was discussed with you, Nick?
I don't know if Dead Drop wants to take this. Well, I mean, getting our own facility was kind of always the goal. We just had to kind of start somewhere so that we could get up quickly. What we experienced in Indiana was pretty massive failure, and it accelerated the timeline for us to start this whole facility. And, Keith, who has been a real, winner in terms of, organizing this operation and getting us the things we need. He's not here, but he's another critical member of the team. And him and myself were here when the first container got installed, so that we could get the initial miners online, organize things. We also had some growing pains with that as well. The container that we purchased wasn't ideal, but it was a great learning experience for us. To learn what makes a good container. We were kind of starting on the ground floor of a large scale mining operation. I had to remake so many Ethernet cables that very first day when we got this. It was an immense operation. We had to get additional switches to construct the network as we needed. Because what shipped with the container wasn't enough. My experience with networking as a network engineer, was I would argue, not to toot my own horn, but it was pretty critical to getting this operation up and going. Since then we've gotten higher quality containers that don't require as much manual intervention to get things running. And again, that's just part of that learning process. We still have that original container up and running, and I regularly interact with it. Though I gotta admit, I do prefer the newer containers. They make my job so much easier. Moving on to this, where we are now, it was one of those things where we just dove headfirst into it, and it has turned out so much better than what we had in Indiana. And we haven't had any massive failures yet. I'm going to knock on some wood here in my car, it's been quite a journey.
Amazing. Love that. Learning on the job is sometimes the best way to learn, I think. Challenges come flying at you, and you obviously adjust as you go. But I mean, how difficult is it? How difficult actually is it? You've got clients coming in left, right, and center. You've got NFT collections and raises happening. Like, how do you actually plan for a container? I'd really be interested to know. Like, because there's got to be a lot of considerations, right? What are the things that we have to think about?
Well, one of the biggest things we have to think about is how many miners that we actually have and how much space that we actually have. So we've got actually another container coming this week that we are going to almost fill up immediately with our backlog of miners to install. So, it's we've got a lot of demand, and we have had a lot of supply. But we're getting to that critical point where we need to do another expansion. We've actually got a whole site expansion planned. We've already got the gravel down. We've got things secured. We got another transformer. We got everything we need. Just need that container for some additional space. It's excellent to see things growing. Some of the biggest, hurdles that we have is managing miners in terms of, which gets installed first, which priority. We've got a large demand of clients, and we want to make sure that everybody is happy. It's a challenge to ensure that, we get all of our clients' miners up there in a timely manner. And, so far we've been doing our best to hit, key deadlines, and that is always, a pressure, but that's part of what we do. We manage that pressure for our clients.
I think one of the main benefits of actually having our own facility, which, I mean, it's evident in the way that the operation is running. But the thing is, with the space that we've learned, and I'm sure many people have learned, is there's a front stage and a backstage persona to every interaction. And the front stage persona is always a yes man or woman, right? And it becomes increasingly difficult to really distinguish what component of this yes man personality is experience based, and what component is just sales. And Web3 is 99% sales. So when you can control the vast majority of variables that are involved in the process of saying yes to someone and making that yes materialize into the desire, then you can actually get things done. And moving to North Carolina allowed us to actually not only put the talents of the team into practice, but control as many variables as possible. We're not vertically integrated, and we probably will never be vertically integrated, meaning that the process from A to Z of getting a machine and installing it for a client is not going to be in house. We're not going to ever manufacture the machines. We're not ever going to manufacture the containers. We've discussed, these points, but it's highly unlikely because when you want to become quote vertically integrated, there's a transitional period where the cost of your business goes up, and you have to pass that along to clients. And then when you're fully vertically integrated, you have these economies of scale, and suddenly things get cheaper for you. That's the whole reason any company pursues vertical integration. They manufacture their own machines, their own containers, and then everything from A to Z they do in house. It's great if you can skip the steps to get to that point, but you can't. And so that means in that transitional period, things get very expensive for everybody. We don't want to ever have to do that. But we want to control as many variables as we possibly can in this process. And right now, we can control maybe 2 more variables a little bit better. But there will always be these extraneous variables outside our locus of control, such as delivery of a container. Even sometimes the specs of a container will be variable. Like, we can get the same exact container model, but suddenly the shrouds in the container are shaped differently. They're like an inch wider or thicker, and that makes a huge difference. And Nick can go for hours about why that makes a huge difference, and so can Steven. But these little variables we will never be able to control. And so when we talk about, was North Carolina perfect? From our perspective, it's a comparative question. Yes, this is as good as it could get. There's room for improvement, but until we can control really everything from A to Z, which won't ever happen, there's always going to be that variability. And if you go outside of Alteri and you try to look at how the business is running, you really start to realize that the move to North Carolina is probably the best thing that we have ever done. So is Doc the cock? Is that who I think it is?
Yeah.
Wait,
Sorry,
no,
guys.
I need to hear this. Who's Doc the cock? Say something.
It is. I think. I mean,
I don't think so.
It was up for a
it's very
second there.
good.
Waiting for some sound, just so I can sit and chuckle.
I mean,
I think if it
I've
is,
not.
if it is, it sounds not working. What a shame.
Give him
So,
a couple minutes. Maybe he's got a scenario like I had.
I don't know if this is a loaded question, but Nanemo's last question is the new container arriving like the latest blue one on site, which is, there's a lovely picture of it there. So Nanemo happened to pay us a little visit in North Carolina. So that's actually one of ours. Does it look like that one, Nick?
Yeah, the new container coming in is one of our new Giga containers. So I would say this is the best container that we've had thus far. It makes my job a little simpler. which is great because every single day I face new issues here at the mine, and adapting to these issues is kind of my strong suit. I'm very good at adapting. I'm a troubleshooting chameleon, but that allows me to focus on other areas when we've got containers like our Giga XL that just take a lot of the guesswork out of everyday troubleshooting. They come with these really great pre-configured switches. So far, the quality control has been higher on these containers, and we've got really great intake system on these containers, and the exhaust has been sufficient thus far. One of the things that we do have to do here, which Keith, my fellow associate, my fellow boot on the ground over here, manages a lot, is the fans. It's one of those variables that Joe was talking about that we have to adapt to on the fly. They are belt operated, and sometimes those belts fail. So, we've got to not only be computer specialists in terms of managing these ASICs, but we've got to be mechanical specialists, to get in there and replace these belts on these fans. We've got to be power specialists, which Keith is definitely the power specialist among the group. He's an expert at this stuff. So, he's in there with a voltmeter, testing voltage to these fans, making sure we're getting the full power out of these. But again, these newer containers like the one that we've got coming this week, they just take a lot of the guesswork out of it. They make our jobs easier so we can focus on other critical issues, that we're always working on.
So, talking of tricky, again, one of the questions that came up earlier, and I think is actually quite pertinent. We mentioned this word curtailment, this process of turning stuff off and on again. For those that are in the audience that may have not have heard this word, can you just explain the theory behind it and why it's important in practice that we deliver on it?
Yeah, let me take this one, Nick.
Okay.
Or actually, who's now an expert at curtailment that can actually use their mic, because it looks like Doc the Cock has bad audio, bad service. Okay. If Stephen, if you're not busy right now, if you want to talk a little bit more about curtailment, I feel like you've grown love-hate relationship with curtailment. So if you want to take that question.
Yeah, it's a good question. It's pretty multifaceted, so I don't want to, I guess, get too lost in it. But curtailment, we're using for a couple different purposes, not just for the cost effectiveness of it, but also in terms of energy usage. So I guess the different use cases can be applied to actually, let's say, the Paraguayan operation. There are instances that, because of the circuits we're on, there's priority to residential or hospitals or other things. So your data service center, you're basically second to that. So what often happens is the utility provider asks you to allow that capacity to be given back to that circuit. So you turn down your miners, as simply put. The cool thing that Joe really formulated and that we've come up with, and actually, to my understanding, are some of the first to pioneer, is we curtail manually to lower our base cost. And let me try to explain that a little better, because it's actually pretty neat. So if you were to go to ERCOT in Texas and get an ESA with the provider, there's credit systems. Everybody knows about the credit system. So in the miner world, basically you're able to enter into a energy service agreement with either a broker or directly the utility provider, and you come to an agreement that if they ask you to turn down, let's say 30% of your total capacity, you say you will. They stipulate the time frame. There's constraints in place, so it's not just whenever they want you to, for as long as they want you to, but you agree to it. And when you agree to it, usually there's an incentive, and the incentive is a credit-based system where, yes, you're losing uptime, but you are receiving credits. Either some are monthly, some are quarterly, some are at the end of the year. And I'm guessing many of you have seen kind of those news articles, especially for Texas. There's sometimes companies that are more profitable over the course of a couple months, turning down their miners than they are leaving them running because of the credits. However, the credit system, there's some flaws to it, and oftentimes it isn't profitable and actually hinders your operation. So what we've done is we have gotten pretty granular in our understanding and ability to truly extract valuable information from these rate schedules and understand the on-peak and off-peak hours, the energy rider, the fuel charges, the kilowatt hour charge, the demand charge, on and off demand charge, all those stipulations to where we've actually created a system and understanding to where we know how much of our load to turn down for a given time to pay the bare minimum of that cost. And when we started speaking with other providers and even utility companies, we realized very quickly not many know how to do this or understand that. Because many, as we have been looking to explore the opportunities here in the US, they state, oh, mining is no good here. And the second question asked is why? Oh, the rates, they're going up. They're too high. Well, have you thought of curtailment? No, the credit system doesn't make sense or they don't offer it. No, but have you thought of, manually turning things down? Oh, what do you mean? And there's often this lack of knowledge and understanding that there is a threshold of demand where if you still use a portion of it, you'll still fully utilize your bill and your ESA. But if you stay at that ceiling and don't go past it, then you're at the cheapest base cost available to your operation. And that's what we're currently leveraging in North Carolina. That's how we're offsetting an increase in our overall rate. And that's kind of what I think of our superpower in our back pocket as we're looking at these other locations. They don't have to necessarily be attracted to sites like ERCOT, where they're asking for a tremendous amount of capital up front. Because they allow that opportunity, we're able to actually understand and say, well, we can go and explore other states that, yes, don't have the same credit system, but because of our understanding of how to curtail and utilize that and integrate it with some of these softwares, we can actually offset our cost as much as we want to regarding the base. So it's kind of this world of finances blended with truly understanding your capacity with the energy provider and the agreement you enter to. Like anything, it's been a tremendous learning curve. Utility providers, believe it or not, don't like when you come up with methods to save money. They get mad. So then they try to apply deposits that weren't initially agreed upon. They try to say, well, you can't start yet because we haven't agreed upon it. There's been all these other things that have kind of fallen that we've worked past and now are confident in deploying rightly. So hopefully that rant explains some of the stuff furthermore.
More than explained it. Thank you for that, Stephen. Thanks for taking the time. As Keith so rightly put it, curtailment's tricky and it's different across different regions. But one point in there that I think Nick mentioned earlier was this implementation of some software. My question to you guys, and this is open to anybody that wants to answer, how automated is it? And how tricky was it to get to that point? Because I can imagine it wasn't straightforward.
Well, Nick, why don't you go ahead and tell them what happened with the software today?
So, it used to be a manual process. We'd have somebody come up here and manually curtail, which took a lot of human resources, and also was prone to potential failure. If some emergency happened, we're late by 5 minutes. Well, there goes the whole day worth of curtailment. So, this automated system that we've devised works really well, but there are learning curves with that as well. So, our initial automation testing, which we've performed extensively, because this isn't a joking matter, it needs to be done. It's very critical to the continued operation of this facility. We did extensive testing with it. We were tweaking and changing settings on the curtailment to make sure, we were monitoring the power usage at the same time, real time, and over an average, because that's really how the power companies look at things. So we've done extensive testing, and we made sure that it worked. And then today we have a new failure that we're trying to, that we did overcome. But they curtailed, but they never came back up. Thankfully, I was here right at the time that they were intended to be turned up. So I had to manually go through and turn up all these miners, to get them back in operation. Overall, we may have missed 10 minutes, but thankfully we caught it very quickly. But since then, and I mean, this is something that we've just done today, we applied redundancy to the automated process. So that way, even if the trigger gets missed, we have a secondary backup that's going to re-energize these miners for us. So, again, we're learning every single day. Today, I can't even explain to you why the trigger didn't, fulfill its purpose. But, we can't rely on these systems to be 100% effective. That's why, we have redundancy in terms of, the human element. Like when I get here, and the curtailment process has failed, I can quickly turn it back up. But now we also have redundant automation so that they will turn back up when we need them to. And this is something that we've implemented as of today.
Yeah.
Love it.
So we like to think that a failure is only a failure if you learn nothing from it. So this is one of the benefits of being able to control things. You can, when something fails outside your jurisdiction per se, you won't learn much, right? When in Indiana a transformer blew up, we didn't really learn how to not blow up a transformer. But when things learn within your control, you can actually, when things fail within your control, you can actually learn from it. And so we don't call those failures.
No, no, it's very similar to the process that you actually see in the DevOps world. It's this whole process of continuous integration, continuous delivery, deployment. And that's incredibly important in this kind of. It's a modern application world, and I think we all rely heavily on applications and automation in order to be efficient. And I think, as our operation scales, automation is going to be critical to the expansion that we all see before us. And, we're always thinking about the next thing, and we need the technology to kind of back us up. And it sounds like this Foreman technology is pretty phenomenal once when you've got to grips with it. So Nick, I really appreciate yours and Keith's perseverance with this, because I know it's not been easy.
Yeah, we've certainly had a number of issues. Oh, go ahead.
No, I was just going to speak a little bit for Keith, because Keith is typing in the chat. I can tell he's itching to be able to use his mic. But yeah, I bet if Keith was up here, he would have so much to say about curtailment, automation, also the electrical and the mechanical side of things. I mean, just I think it was yesterday night. Correct me if I'm wrong, Nick, but I think either last night or the night before, everything went offline suddenly, and we really didn't know what was going on. Our internet service provider is not the most punctual, You have slim pickings sometimes when you're in rural areas, so you work with what you got. And again, we're looking at Starlink now. See, so this is learning again. Right now, we're looking at Starlink as a form of redundancy to the ISP. So anyhow, you don't want like 900 machines offline for too long, but sometimes you can't control it, right? But there we have Keith, like at like 10 p.m., 11 p.m., just drives down to the facility. He's like, "I'm on it, guys." I'm like, On what exactly? Like, we don't even know what's going on." And then he goes there and he takes a video. He's like, "Yeah, it just looks like, our internet service is just not available. We don't know exactly why. Is it from the service provider? Is it something structural, mechanical, electrical? We don't know." Next thing we know is Keith takes a video, shows us his tools. He climbs up a tower, okay, to fix a kink or something like that in a cable that was feeding our ISP, and that was great. Like, if we didn't have Keith, I don't know who would have ever thought to look up on a tower at midnight and climb up there to fix it. But he did it, and you know everything came back online. I mean, like, if you have something like this off for a day, because theoretically speaking, if Keith wasn't there, right, or someone like Keith, we would have to wait for the internet service provider send someone out, and that person probably go, "Oh, well, it looks like your modem's just not working. Maybe try to plug, unplug, restart." You get the basic surface level troubleshooting, and then that doesn't work. Then they send you an actual electrician or engineer who may have more of an idea of what may be going on. Eventually, it's going to be a few steps before someone even thinks about the tower and the lines and the cables, right? And at that point, like, how many days have passed? 700, 800 machines off for one day. I mean, we're talking about gross revenues and several 30K. Like, it's a lot. So yeah, so having all this different background as well is immensely instrumental. So yeah, I'm trying my best here, Keith. I can see Joe can speak for me. uh, but he also keeps a lot of videos, and if you follow his TikTok, I don't know, this is unsolicited, but you follow his TikTok, you guys can get a lot more content on what happens in the facility sometimes. I don't have TikTok, but I get videos of his videos sometimes, and I see them. Oh, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I don't think my daughter would let me install TikTok on my phone. In all honesty. That and Snapchat, you're banned, Dad. You're not allowed on those. There was a great question that was a little earlier, and it kind of plays into where we're going to take the conversation next. And it was actually from Spectacular, saying that there was a lovely podcast episode from Galaxy Brains about, amongst other things, curtailment and automation. They're based in Texas, so solar, and the visitor could hear it working when the solar eclipse passed across. Sounds like the power price is monitored by the minute, I think. Impressive stuff. But the question actually leads into what I'm going to ask you guys now. And again, this is probably, Joe, this one's probably slightly more directed at you. But given the success that we've had in North Carolina, we are currently looking into pastures new. But I guess from a newbie's perspective, what makes a good location? What are the things that you're looking for in that location? And I'm guessing that there's a lot of facets to it, but could you break it down for me?
Yeah, actually, there are multiple layers to this question, and I would actually defer to Keith if he was able to talk, because a lot of the decision on what's a good site and what's not a good site comes down to the topology and the geography of the terrain, and then proximity to things like the power source, um, and what sort of substations are around, all that stuff, and like the type of substation, its capacity. So a lot of times this is actually a question of electricity and mechanics, and that's the first layer, right? And then the second layer is probably things like climate, right? And then the type of the cost of the energy, and what sort of strategies are available to control the energy. Because if you can't control the energy, then your future is unpredictable. So to an extent, you want to find a utility provider, or at least secure an ESA that has some form of predictability. And so that would be like the second slash third layer. And then actually something that isn't very forthcoming as an insight is proximity to tools and resources. Like if you need to go purchase some tool to troubleshoot something. And then also from an operational perspective, do you have people around, right? People who can help you, like technicians, networkers, engineers. When you're, all the way out in the middle of the desert, 4 or 5 hours away from civilization, first of all, dispatch will be slow. Second of all, you won't find any jobs. Like there won't be people there to hire. So you can't run an operation when you can't have anyone there to work. So just a few of the things, but there's probably a few other things. But it is a complex, multivariable decision you have to make. But I will say that the most important part is the electrical part, and that's something Keith could probably talk for hours about. Yeah, I think that's sufficient. If you wanted to add anything, Nick, as well, please do.
Yeah, go for it, Nick. I think everyone wants to know what Keith's TikTok is.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, I'm just learning about this TikTok, but I am probably the worst in terms of social media awareness over here. So please forgive me for that. But I mean, yeah, expanding to new facilities is a huge one. I know that they're constantly looking at new potential places, and it's a lengthy process of checking what kind of contracts we can get for that new location. And to be honest, that's a little outside my wheelhouse. That's more on the higher ups here. But yeah, I mean, I think I saw a question about the expansion that we have here. They were asking, are you expanding? And absolutely. As far as space terms, we now have almost more than double, the amount of available space for containers over here. And things are moving really fast. Like, this new container that we got coming in, just the first of many that we're going to be doing to, make more available space. But at a certain point, you need to diversify your, portfolio of locations. It's just, part of the process. And I mean, we are actually a multinational implementation of a crypto mine at this point, with our PY facility. So, it's exciting to be a part of it. I'm very thrilled every single day to see all this movement, and it really is moving rather quickly. My job of managing these individual miners, is definitely critical, but this expansion and the logistics of doing that is also very critical, and I have to give credit, to Commander and Dead Drop, Stephen and Joe, for making that possible for us.
I think Nanemo kind of really, added to that what you were saying there, which was, given the fact that you're on the ground with all your experience, what's really exciting for you now? What are you most excited? I'll tell you what. I'll revert that. It's like, what are you most excited about?
I'm always excited about expansion, which I had just gone over. But yeah, I'll be honest. My experience primarily before we really got this facility up and going, was with GPU mining. So I had a lot of experience with that. I've set up other GPU mining farms. And as Dead Drop had mentioned earlier, it was one of those things where I could just go completely full depth into it. I got into finding the optimal overclocking settings, to extract the most value out of our components. And that was something that was very comfortable for me. But what I'm dealing with now is ASICs. And so, these, application specific integrated circuits, they are really at the bare bones, just huge number crunchers. And what I'm learning is that there are ways to make the most of these ASICs in terms of management, in terms of uptime, and in terms of power efficiency. So, we're constantly looking at new tools. It's an emerging market. These people who are making the tools to make this possible, they're ingenious. We've got new firmwares that I've been flashing, to increase the hash rate of certain miners, to make them more reliable, and to improve the management capabilities. So really staying on top of the emerging market of management software and new firmwares being developed, which happen in response to community feedback. Like, for example, with Caspa, this is kind of a newer thing that's taken over the market. And so, the innovations in terms of, Caspa mining efficiency, they're really fresh. So it's staying on the bleeding edge of, these innovations that I would say is probably one of the more exciting factors for me.
Love that. Really love that. And obviously, Casper has presented a very different opportunity. I think it's certainly got people in the Discord, quite excited. I think we've had, quite the year with the stuff that's been going on over in Paraguay, and as we know, if people have been paying attention in the Discord, you can see that things are moving. But we do have some questions actually coming in about the 3.5 batch. Dong Steve, you're not the first to ask. There was actually a question a little earlier that I acknowledged and said that was going to be coming up. So should we tackle that one sort of head on? So obviously we've got EMF3 that's in. You guys have hopefully been enjoying your payments on it certainly made Mondays a little bit sweeter. I think we originally had the 18th listed, but as you've heard while we've been on here, Joe, we've said that we need that new container in and fired up and online first. But what are our thoughts around making that first 3.5 payment? Because I think I'm going to need to make a change to the event. So what were we thinking there, bud?
I presume you're referring this question.
I'm aiming at Joe here, who's on mute.
Yeah.
I'm getting crickets right
now.
Yeah,
I heard your question. I missed a part of it, but I'm assuming this was a question regarding the setup or the payouts for EMF 3.5. Yeah.
3.5. Yeah. So I said that obviously we need the new container in situ fired up with the transformer. What are our thoughts around? Because I think everybody just wants to know. There's people saying when they're being installed, but what actually everybody would love to know is when potentially could we be seeing a first payment? Because I need to make a change to the event because 6 days is probably pretty aggressive for a first payout considering they're not plugged in yet. What are our thoughts there?
Yep. So I think the goal is going to be right before Christmas. I don't know which Monday that Monday is, which day, but
it's not going to be Monday unless we fancy rolling a script out on Christmas Day. I don't, I know that people really want paying, but I think everyone deserves a day off.
we will have Steven and David pay out on Christmas. That's the goal.
Okay. Love that.
Easy.
So money will be in your wallets by Christmas Day. How about that?
Well, I think people need to Christmas shop before, but then we have to take into account the actual conversion off ramping is like 5 days if you're using Coinbase. So it's a lost cause. Honestly, you're gonna have to find different funds for the Christmas shopping. 3.5, I would say before Christmas is a good timeline. I think we'll be able to. We started installing some, but I think it has 15. I'm not sure. I think David exact number, but
yes,
around 15 Caspa miners. Yeah. order for us to install all of it, first I'll have to be here, which I don't believe I'll here yet. I think maybe half of them have arrived, and that's as
Yeah.
much as we install until we all have
You can
arrived,
make
which
it
we
up.
suspect. And it's
Woo.
to
Is it me?
the next
Or
week,
he's
obviously.
really breaking off.
What
It really wouldn't
You are.
be an Enigma AMA without Joe rugging. Honestly,
Yeah, that was like hardcore.
the thing is that he gives us like all of this gold when he goes out of cell range. So I think what he was saying that he's going to be spending his EMF 3.5 rewards on a new pair of lucky pants. So MTA, we need is a new design for those pants. We could actually run maybe a little Zeely competition, and who can design the best pants for Commander. But there we go. So that's 3.5. Hopefully that gives you guys the answer that you were looking for. Joe, are you back in the room? You're rugged big time, my friend.
yeah, no, but I heard everything you said, and I appreciate it fully.
No.
I don't. I think I'm gonna have bad reception again, so I'm just gonna stay quiet. You can sum up the answer because I think you know it.
Fair enough. I was going to talk a little bit about Paraguay before you definitely run out of signal. But I can give you the view from the bridge, and if Joe is in cell range. So as you know, we are busy pushing out as quickly as we can the installations. The team are highly motivated on site to get things done. I think it's between 100 and 150 machines per week that we're getting online. It's full testing from a load testing, DOR. So we are slowly but surely getting those online. Customers are being communicated to once those machines are in situ and switched on. So, yeah, Faraz, honestly, mate, it's like that he needs his personal cell tower maybe on top of his car. I think that's kind of what we should do. We should just make his Tesla one big car aerial. That would be the way forward, I think. But yeah, as far as PY goes, the updates are pretty light. But what we're doing is that we're getting updates out. So if you are a buy and host client, obviously we are reaching out to you either on here or we're sending emails out because there's actually quite a large quantity of people that aren't actually in our Discord, believe it or not. So we have to obviously communicate across whether it's Signal, whether it's Telegram, whether it's WhatsApp. We have Discord group chats as well, which is very, very difficult to keep up with. We are in a lot of groups. We don't just have the ones that the individuals that are buying from us and we're in a group in, but we've also got the projects as well that invest with us as well. And yeah, we're in a really, really good spot, as Nick said. The new container arrives and we pretty much filled it. So that kind of is, a stark contrast to where we were 18 months ago, where, we were busy trying to fill that location as quick as we could, but really having to go hard in on recruiting new customers. So really, really good position to be in. As we stated before, and this is really just as a quick roll call reminder, because I know some of you don't read the announcements, you're not often in here. So as part and parcel of the Paraguay installs, we are incorporating some of the Genesis and the EMF2 miners in the parcels of what we deliver every week. And as Heli did, I believe, announce last week, we will be making a partial payment. So for EMF2, it's looking like it's going to be January. We want to get everything up running. We want to get ahead of steam so we can get payments rolling. But for those of you that have overconsumed and overindulged over the Christmas period, January could be very, very good for absolutely everybody. We could actually be in a situation where we have not only all collections online, but we could have all miners online as well. That would be a hell of an achievement to go into 2024 with. And I know we're certainly very, very excited about that. Dong Steve, really good question.
It's
That's coming. Go on, Joe. Talk
it's
while you have reception.
it's better for everybody when my reception cuts out because then you get to summarize things so eloquently and I think people appreciate my T-Mobile service. But yeah, no, I think everything you said about Paraguay is exactly what I would have said. Uh, I would say, EMF2, we have the L7s coming on first because they're more profitable. We should have all the L7s in theory. Of course, I have to qualify my statement with in theory because theory seems to predominate practice these days. But we're relatively confident that by next week we should see the majority, if not all. We'll keep you updated. We're paying closer attention to more so much.
And there he
Thank
goes
you,
again.
robot.
He is a Dalek. So look, great question that kind of came in from Narwhal. Put very briefly. Things are moving forward. As I said, it's it's between the figure is between 100 and 200 machines per week. We've got 1,091 in total. In terms of the relationship, it has improved in the sense of there's not this whapping premium. But yeah, there are, as with everything, there are always small compromises. But we just want these damn things online in the location where the miners are in situ. It is the least risk for us. It is the least risk for the community. And, if we can be in a position where come January we have the whole operation online, I think we would all be delirious at that point, because it means that every single collection that we have, I will have to create an event for. And I'm actually asking Stephen if we can cascade the days so that there's actually a different event running almost every day. I think that would deliver a hell of a bullish sentiment across the community. And we know that everybody here that's on these AMAs, you've got exposure across at least one collection, if not buying host as well. Spectacular. New question. What is which miner actually mining, as in which coin? So L7s are mining Litecoin and Doge. The M50s and S19s are running our BTC. And then, of course, Casper's running Casper. Right, that's really easy. The KS3s and the KS3Ms. And then as far as collections are going, I'm going to have to refer back to my notes because I don't remember off the top of my head. But I think EMF2 from recollection was a split between L7s and Bitcoin miners. So we're prioritizing getting those L7s online. They are the more profitable of the two machines. They're also more the pricier of the two. And if you're getting most bang for your buck, so if you can only get one machine online, get the one on that makes the most money. It's really makes the most sense. So Crypty came on. Would you guys be able to add a monthly announcement of what ROI is expected for the month, since pass rates drastically and halves each month? It's really difficult to do. We would love to have a crystal ball in terms of where the coin is going. We can only say based upon what we can see today. And if we'd done that at the start of when we launched the Casper collection, the mining collection, I think we were sat around 5 or 6 cents. It's really, really hard. And we've got ourselves in so much trouble before where we've given, an indication of what a projection could look like. And then we've got fried later on. So what we try to do is try and avoid doing too much of that. But we've in the past, what we've done is we provided a calculator and let you guys just pump the numbers in yourself to see what it is currently. I think that's probably the best way to do it. I don't want to mention the dashboard word, but I'll mention it before I get a ton of questions on that. Please, no questions on the dashboard. It is still on the list. We still want to do it, but we have to get our priority straight at the moment. We just want you all paid. But the dashboard will obviously tell you exactly kind of how much crypto you are mining at that moment in time across your collections. So, and yes, the interpretation would be that you get to choose how you get paid or whether you want to just leave the money there. All of this is still in the roadmap. And Lou would rather see the dashboard than get paid. Please, can everybody tell him where the exit is? Oh, yes, but we all want it. We all love it. I think, once we get a little bit of downtime, we will get some focus back on that. The website, we are going through the process of just validating all the devices that we can get hold of. That will go live. Phase 2 will be the dashboard piece. The team have already started the work on it. There are a lot of complexities with it, as I mentioned, on every single AMA. Maybe I should bring some of you onto the calls and you can see the stuff for yourself and maybe provide some feedback to the community. So, how is ROI looking on Casper mining, especially with the aggressive hash rate increase? Again, I don't know, Commander, whether you've been keeping a watchful eye on Kaz.
Yeah, sort of. So this is also, I guess, a case study for why ROIs, should not be, should always be, let's say, a retroactive tool. You look back and hold on, sorry, 1 second. So anyway, so the very first payout we did for buy and host and EMF3 was sitting around 40%. Yeah, so it's not a 40% return on the investment. It was a 40%. It was actually a little bit higher, depending, I guess, on which machine you had. But it was like something around. It was like 38% at the time we paid, and then within a day, it jumped to like 47% because of the Caspa moving, right? So if the actual ROI, what they got back at the time was that 45% divided by 4 cycles, because that's what a month is. And when you talk about ROI, the standard measure is 1 month. So then the week after that, we dropped sort of to low 30s. That was a function of the network hash rate increasing dramatically, and then the Caspa starting to act up like, the insert profanity. So this most recent cycle payout, we had an uptime of like anywhere from 50 to 80% until Nick, caressed our miners with so much elegance and technical proficiency, and with that combined with the network hash rate doubling almost, which means the proportional halving almost of the yield, we still managed a 13% ROI, 14%. So in theory, the ROI should be around 16 to 20% right now. So, best case, you'll get close to 20%, given the current price and current network hash rate. And then if you have to adjust for reality, which means, downtime, glitching software, usually you want to add a 5 to 10% variability on that. So, yeah, that's sort of where we are. But, Caspa's hash rate has doubled and the price has gone down. So everyone's sort of expecting a Caspa correction. It sort of happened. It held pretty strongly. So everybody's sort of expecting it to shoot up off of a volume shelf, which seems to be happening. It's just a matter of when.
Yeah, we don't know what we don't know when it comes to it, and this is where I kind of look. I know he's not in the audience at the moment, but it's when I look to people like Pigeon or Monday if he's about. So Mondy's always got the things to say about Casper. I think as an investor myself, I've got miners. I'm just hanging on to it. I'm just sitting back and just watching it accumulate. If we believe that this bull run is coming. And I think the pricing increases that we've seen over the course of the last 4 or 5 months have been incredibly encouraging. Everybody screaming buy at 16k, then everybody screaming buy at 25, are all screaming buy at 40. It's I think we'll find ourselves in a situation where the overall market cap and all coins will start heading in the right direction. I'm personally hanging on to Kaz. I'd love to see this at I'd love to see this up at close to 50 cents, but maybe I'm
JT,
living in a dream world.
Look, there's a better way to answer this question. Caspa's a $10 coin next.
Okay, moving swiftly on. Guys, have you got any questions for the team? You obviously heard us doing an awful lot of talking. If any of you want to come up on stage, raise your hand. We'll bring you up. You can ask your question live. Or, if you are feeling more shy, then obviously just use the chit chat. Nope. Mungo, we got to hear that lovely voice on the VC the other day. I know it was by accident, but it was nice to hear you. Everyone's asking, there's a few people asking, can we produce a calculator? I've done one in the past, but again, it's something that we just don't like
We
to
don't need a
do.
calculator because there are literally companies out there that have built calculators. They're usually pools. If you go to pools like F2 Pool, I forget, there's a bunch. Antminer, no, Ant Pool, there's a bunch. And there's calculators there. It's
Yeah,
really simple.
I use
Download F2
Minerstat.
Pool. Yeah,
Minerstat I use.
But
That's
Minerstat
pretty
is
easy.
okay. But honestly, if you want to be as accurate as possible, you have to use the pool you're using because the pool you're using gives you data directly from what was paid out. So it literally cannot get more precise. So you go to F2 Pool, you look at you just go click on the algorithm. So K heavy whatever. If you want Caspa, put in your hash rate. You should know your hash rate because you're buying a machine, or your NFT is a receipt to a machine. So I mean, $500 of like 1,000 is half of whatever the machine is. So you can do the math, and put it in there, and it's going to tell you. It's going to tell you your daily revenue in Caspa and then in dollars. And if you're doing ROI, you're going to look at the dollar. If you're a moon boy, you're going to look at Caspa and multiply it by 10. But that's really the best. You could do that every single day and have an ROI every single day. And the best part is you don't even have to trust us.
Love that. Love that. Guys, keep your questions coming in. Here we go. I can see that there's a certain someone that wants to come up to have a chit chat with us. Nanamo, it wouldn't be an AMA without you popping up. You missed the last one. I was gutted.
I know. It was hurtful to miss the last one. My perfect streak was broken. I got a question on the dashboard, like just roughly, and I know you didn't want to talk about that, but is it realistic to think we'll see that in the next, like Q1 2024? And part of that is I want to buy some Caspa. I want Bitcoin, I want Litecoin, but I'd rather just take it from my rewards versus going on the open market.
Yeah. So JT, who's going on record? Me or you?
No,
You can. Yeah. I don't want to get myself. I don't want to get myself in trouble on this one because I know just the sheer amount of work that needs to happen on the back end. I mean, even the first port of call will probably be just to show you what's going on. There will probably be a subsequent level then, which is around because if you're including things like swapping and stuff like that, there's a whole load of complexity APIs that go in the background, and so I think it's about it's about setting reasonable expectations. It is important to the community as we keep getting bashed with it. I'm just hoping the community understands that hasn't been our primary focus of late. But Q1, I would personally doubt it. But unless Joe's going to furnish me with a budget that I haven't seen yet, and then with money talks, right?
Okay. That's I was not expecting you to be that honest, JT. I mean, so here's the thing. The dashboard is a loaded concept. It's not just a dashboard, it's many dashboards. So you need a dashboard for each coin, right? It's on the front, it's all seamlessly integrated into one dashboard. So if your question is, are we going to see any version of a dashboard, the primitive, the alpha, the beta, whatever, right? The answer is I think so. I would say with certainty because right now the APIs are sort of figured out. The problem is integrating Web3 APIs with Web2 APIs, and the reality is they're trash. They're absolute shit. So we've tried it before. We did it on Enigma's website. We did it for the Genesis collection, and I think everyone in here, as much as they wanted a dashboard, almost felt like it was completely fucking useless. So they have API limits, or I forget what they call them. But the long story short is, are we going to have a version of a dashboard 100% or 99.9%? Excuse me, someone delete that from. And then, is it going to be Enigma, Alteri, or is it going to be our partner? Because we have a lot of partners, and we're all working closely to achieve the same goal. And I know our partners are working on it, and they offered us to use their tool, and we did the same. We're like, hey guys, you can use our tool. And at the end of the day, it's effectively the same product. It's just a matter of, which website you're going to go to use it. And so we're figuring out that part, and I know for a fact they're going to have a dashboard, and our relationship is extremely intimate. So if they have a dashboard and we like it, we could just use it if we wanted to. But we're sort of develop. So the story, we're developing it in parallel. They have a lot more bandwidth to work on a dashboard. We don't have as much, but we've had a lot of lead time, right? And we've shared our expertise with them. And so, we've bridged that gap, that experience gap, and they may get to a dashboard very soon. I know they will. And then the question is, are we going to integrate? How are we going to integrate it? Because we have the vast majority of their machines, and then we're going to have to onboard inevitably our machines and our APIs into their dashboard. And so, effectively, all to say that there's going to be a dashboard, version of a dashboard for sure next year in Q1. And then the question is really, Alteri, Enigma partner, how are you going to access it is still what we're going to try to figure out. And it's going to come down to convenience, and then also the UI and the UX and resources. But the technical aspect of it is already mostly figured out. And we're laying the backbone to it. So our website, Alteri's website, it's near completion for its first phase, and the next phase is the dashboard, and the UI for that is completed. It's now just a matter of, are we going to go with this plan, or are we going to go with the partner's plan, and so on.
Okay, well, that's really helpful. Thank you. I mean, I want to accumulate some more coins in the near future, and the ability to do that without having to deal with a swap site, like rewards I'm already getting, and then I've got to turn around and basically go to a swap site, or you guys are swapping it into Ethereum and sending it to us, EMF holders and whatnot. So all of that is, anything we can do like that at the end of the day over time saves us quite a bit of money. So I'm looking forward to that. It's a great answer. Thank you. I do have a question about Paraguay, but I'll hold off for a minute on the other questions.
Okay, I have to hop off actually in the next, I'd say 3 minutes. We had a meeting, pushed that a little bit, can't push it again. But so JT, if you want to sort of delegate, if there are any other questions you feel like we need to touch on.
No, I'm taking a little look. It's things like Next EMF, steady stack dashboard partner. You never know. There's lots of wind dashboards. What a surprise. Next question, Nanamo. Let's capture Joe before he disappears.
I just want to, something came up today unexpectedly in a conversation with a fellow Enigma miner that I was having. I don't want to say who it was, but I want to say in Paraguay, in many ways, I feel like you guys just got bad luck. Like, I think a lot of things took place with, the Suez Canal. I lived in South America, like I lived in Uruguay, so I get how people think down there and what the area is like. And I do feel like there was a lot of just bad luck that kind of all hit. and I appreciate how you guys have handled this, because it's obvious, when I read through the chat and the announcements, that you're making good on it. And I feel like, yeah, like a lot of people it's easy to point fingers in small business, but it definitely, it looks like, probably 80% of this is bad luck, and then 20% of it's just your, new business going into a new country. And so I'm actually pretty bullish on Paraguay. I'm really excited about that, and I'm looking forward to, and I'll say this, not on my buy and host miners, but on the retail stuff that I participated in, I've got probably 30% of what I'm holding right now, which is a chunk, is all in EMF2. So all of this impacts me financially also, and I'm very much looking forward to starting to get paid on that, and I'm looking forward to seeing how you guys are gonna contribute, like you said, you'd want to try to make good. And so my question is, have you thought about what that might look like for us, on how, in your announcement, on how you might compensate it all, or if you're even able to?
Well,
can you share that? A lot to digest there. Sorry, I hit you with a lot, but it was just coming out of a fresh conversation, so I kind of thought I'd throw that out there.
No, hey, we all appreciate your opening statements and your receptiveness. I think I don't blame people for being frustrated and pointing fingers, because it's there's too much context, and a lot of it is very experiential, and not to belabor, but like we really didn't expect the sort of issues we ran into. I mean, I know a lot of people in the audience, and we have a lot of people who aren't in the audience that are also clients there, would say, "Oh, dude, that was so obvious, like so amateur." Sure, obvious. In retrospect, which is inseparable now post hoc, right? So here, there, this is a perspective I will qualify my answer with. People have gone through a lot, um, and so has the business itself, right? We had to take a lot of loans to stay afloat. We're talking, at one point, Paraguay was 75% of our business, and it was offline. And we have people who you're talking to on stage right now, who have dependents in their lives who depend on them, and it's you have to look at it practically. This is a company that wants to provide a service, but if you deconstruct it, these are a bunch of people who are taking time from their day, resources from their day, hoping to achieve something that is mutually beneficial, such that the people we deal with can feed their families and we can feed our families. And so it's a bilateral relationship, right? So we put our own money into this to make sure Paraguay still can recover, because I mean there was a point where we had no money to continue running this company. Paraguay is not producing. We had to subsidize shipment costs, imports, a lot of things. And so this downtime, from a client perspective, is very frustrating, and to a lot of people, financially compromising. And then on the flip side, and we try to align ourselves with the clients, we're also going through that same exact pain. The difference is we're more privy to what's happening, and that makes a huge difference, which is why I understand the frustration. So that being said, and things now progressing and finally starting to redeem themselves, we are definitely going to look into how we can reconcile some of this. Uh, of course, keeping in mind that we need to ensure the viability of the company itself, because we hurt a lot and we have loans we need to pay back. So it's not like we can say, yeah, well, we're going to let you guys mine for free. That's not possible. So where's that middle ground? Right. And how long can we sustain it? And so I think, to give you just a conceptual idea of the things that are sort of floating around internally, the first thing is, likely we're going to reduce our profit share significantly, right? Which is going to be good, because when Litecoin and Bitcoin, all of those are doing well, profit share is a much bigger component of your profit than the energy, especially for Litecoin. So for EMF2, that's a big deal. So how long can we do it for? I'm not sure. What's fair? I'm not sure. But we're definitely going to do stuff like that. So we might give up our profit share for entirely for a month, and then we might reduce it for the next month, and then sort of return back to the original business intention. But keep in mind, right, that this is not me saying we're doing more than we need to for our clients. It's really not. But this is me just now going back and putting on the business hat and saying, well, this is a risk everybody took, right? And these are instances that nobody could have predicted. Yeah, people could have hypothesized this what would happen, but no one really is going to go into business and draw out term structures based on the worst case scenarios. So none of this was part of the equation, and therefore, standard practice outside of Alteri would be, well, sort of be thankful things are coming online. We're going to do our best. Not that, hey, I'm going to pay you back more than you asked for. I'm going to make things cheaper for you compared to what we originally discussed. All of these stuff are ways for us really to show that we're different and that we are trying to really have a very client-centered paradigm at Alteri. So this is to say, let's see what we come up with, and then just keep in mind that it's a balance, and we go from there.
Nice,
Thanks, Joe. Great answer. Appreciate it. Thank you very much.
And Enigma, there's actually a question that's coming from you from Cryptic Amon. You mentioned talking to Trump. Did you know about the mugshots? I've got no idea what that's based on. I'm sure you must do.
Sure. I mean, if it's the time, I can talk about it quickly. But
yeah, go for it. I think Joe's got to run.
I got to run, but also I want to I want to give Nick and Keith the chance to also get off stage, because I know Nick is probably on site or trying to be on site.
Let's give Nick some love, guys. If you're in the AMA stage chat, let's see some hearts from you guys for these guys taking time out of their day. I know you used to myself, Maxi, and Joe coming on, but some love for these guys would be amazing. Nick, thank you for doing everything that you do, and Keith, I know you're listening, but we really appreciate you, bud, especially those little runs at in the middle of the night where everything's offline.
Well, I
think we owe lots of beers to you boys, I tell you.
And could Keith?
Could
Joe do a thing of? Could you show us what Keith talks like when you actually talk to him, Joe?
Oh no, don't. I think
No.
you can't. You can't do that. Yeah, I think Joe's cell reception's suddenly gone. Go on, Nick. You were saying,
I just wanted to add that I'm really thrilled to be able to provide for this community and to be able to use my skills for the betterment of Enigma and Alteri. I have completely relocated my life to the facility. So I recently have moved up here and am full time on this project. So if that goes to show that I have full faith in this operation and this company, I believe it does. So, again, thrilled to be able to help this project continue. And I fully believe that there are days ahead that will be a golden age for everybody here. And I really appreciate all of you. I appreciate you guys asking questions, and I'm open to it. If you guys ever need something, you can ping me in chat. I'm usually pretty busy here at the mines, but I will try to get back to you if I can. Mind you that my specialty here is really in the continued operation of the facility itself. And MTA asked me to say good night, so good night and sweet dreams, MTA. I hope that fulfills everything that you've requested of me. But again, thrilled to work with the team, thrilled to be here, and thrilled to drive this community and this project forward.
I think we're going to have to get a little Patreon account set up for you, my friend, with those dulcet tones. Love it.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, $5 and I'll read any message you guys want.
I'll be careful what you wish for, honestly. This is Web3
Yeah,
after all. If you give a
yeah,
if
I
you give,
know.
if you give a price in ETH, it sounds cheaper.
Yeah, I'll read you the daily tickers of the stock market or the crypto market if you want.
Oh, absolutely love that. I know he's been incredibly and he's been messaging within the AMA stage chat. A big thank you for making the time to come and join us today, albeit not in voice. Nanamo, as always, thanks, bud, for popping up and asking a question. You are, if nothing but consistent, sir. And to Maxi, who is now in much more European climes, joining us up on stage. This is your final call. If you've got any questions, please do ping them. Nick, if you need to go, mate, you're more than welcome. And Keith, to jump off if you need to.
Okie doke.
Have a good day, bud.
Well, thanks for having me, and y'all have a great day.
The pleasure is all ours. See you later. Out to come and join us as per usual. So many of you left at the end. There is going to be plethora of announcements coming as we get machines online, and we're in a better position to give firmer dates on things. So please, do bear with us. We are trying to perform some magic tricks, getting everything up and running in both locations. Hopefully we shall have some news on site number 3 as well. So there is work well underway for our third location, and there will be some details being released very, very soon. So I would happily welcome some speculation in the main chat if anybody has some ideas of where that might be. But I guess for this AMA, it's goodbye from me, goodbye from everyone else up here, and we'll look forward to seeing you on the next one. Thanks, guys. I massively appreciate it.
Thanks, JT. Great job. Thank you.
Nice one, gang. Take care.